Howdy, Ags. I got a real banger for you tonight. I think this is a segment I want to keep doing week in and week out. I do a season prediction, and we go through all the teams, everything that's on A&M's schedule. But inevitably, what happens is we get new information. A&M plays a few games, everybody else on the schedule plays a few games, and then we have a lot more to take in to consider when making a prediction. So I think it's good practice. I'm going to try and do this every week, and that's to update the outlook for A&M's regular season win prediction. So just to review, what I picked at the beginning of the season, I picked 9-3. Here was my reasoning on that. Okay, so I had us winning one or the other, Notre Dame or LSU, but losing one of those. Okay, so that's where the first loss came from. The most obvious preseason prediction, probably place most anybody would have picked to not be a win, was at Texas. Okay, playing in DKR. I had that as an L. The third loss is the one where it's a little bit more difficult to kind of settle in to decide where that loss was going to come from. So my thought process was this: a lot of people were very high on Missouri. You had some big talk about South Carolina. Also, a lot of talk about Florida. So between those teams and then my throwing in also Arkansas because it's such a hard game every year, and the thought that that team could probably beat you any week, or there's some time that team is going to upset somebody because Taylor Green's going to have just an out of body experience. Okay, so something along those lines, and I figured there was going to be one more loss come in from those teams. What I tell you I didn't have on the radar is a couple things where I'm going to take an L, 100% going to take an L, but then I am going to jam a huge W for myself right on screen for this one, because there was a couple things that I was really adamant about that I think I just completely nailed on the head, and we will get to that as we get through this prediction, and I'll emphasize the huge blind spot I had with one of these teams. So we will start off with, and it's not the one, but you know what? Got to give some props to Mississippi State. Here was my take on them early season. Early season, it was this team is in full rebuild mode, and they're not just in year one anymore. They were in year zero last year, and they're just completely overhauling the team. They're going to be right back into it. Okay, there's not a whole lot of names on the team. There's just not. I mean, you've got Blake Shapen, you got Brennan Thompson, um, you got Fluff. Okay, there's a couple of guys on the team, but there's not a lot of talking points that are happening from this team. They're just playing consistent ball. So I'll give you my just quick update on this team, and then we'll get to predicting all the other losses and wins for A&M for the rest of the season. But right now, I am the only one that I have seen that's given a prediction. If you want to see my full prediction, it's up on the channel. That is picking A&M to cover. The spread's like 14 and a half points right now. I'm the only one that's picked them to cover. I've got the game 35-20. Now I almost came off that at one point. I almost felt like I needed to get back on here, do another pod, and say, you know what? I think I overdid that. But you know what? I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it. I'll tell you a couple reasons why. First, they're 99th in sacks. Okay, they're not they're just not getting to the quarterback. That's all there is to it. But they're 107th in sacks allowed. They are 134th in penalties, which is worse than A&M, and we are terrible at this point in penalties. They are 78th in tackles for loss, 91st in tackles for loss allowed. I mean, just allowing a lot of negative plays all over the field for themselves. I think what happened, I think what's going on right now, because you'll even hear people pick Mississippi State to win this game. Maybe not a whole lot, but you sure got a bunch of people that are picking A&M to not cover. They've got this like a touchdown game, maybe 14 points at most is the best prediction I've heard. A&M winning, but only winning by 14, so not covering. That's the best prediction I've heard. I think people are just a little bit drunk on that Tennessee game. Okay, I've got more reasoning on that particular game on my full preview, but suffice it to say, Tennessee, I don't think played Tennessee fully. They played well, but it was a lot of back and forth, very sloppy game. Closing this team out right now, I'm going to stick with my prediction. Like I said, it's at home. It's a blackout game. It's going to be a record crowd, and man, I, I I just don't see this one happening. Maybe they don't cover, but I don't see the L coming. I just don't. I think we're going to show that we can play on both sides of the ball in the same game. And so we'll see how many points that ends up us winning by. But I do have it as a win currently. So that puts us at 5-0. All right, 5-0. Next up after that's Florida. We got Florida at home. So that's good news. It was great to get the Gators at home. We went to the Swamp and won last year. I'd like to get one at home and not do some sort of swappy situation like with LSU. That's the last thing I want to start doing again. They're 115th in total offense, 22nd in total D. So you got a Jekyll and Hyde situation. The offense is just, I mean, maybe Auburn's is kind of more anemic at this point. It's pretty bad. Lagway's just not up to the NIL money that was being paid. All there is to it. I had said about this team that what you had early on. Okay, so this is a slight, uh, toot of the horn. When it's there, I'm gonna say it's there. When it's not, I'm gonna say it's not. And so I've got a very obvious example of when it's not, but this is one of them. There were reports of him being in a boot, wide receivers not practicing, and here we are, lo and behold, their offense is having many woes. So, I mean, it was hard to say that you were going to see it coming, but there's going to be a pattern actually with this. A lot of these teams right now, they are having, if you saw some pre-camp camp stuff going on, now you're starting to see it happen during the regular season. There was a clip of Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze was just getting after him on the practice field one day in fall camp. And it was kind of making the rounds at the time because there was some talk about, Hugh Freeze on the golf course. And so it was a little bit extra scrutiny or whatever. But, you watch the clip and it just looked like it was kind of like, man, are things okay over in Auburn? Well, here we go. Look, turns out they're not doing so well. Okay, same thing kind of for Florida at this point. So I think there's something to be said for these things. And it just doesn't look like the offense is going to click. I mean, I'm sure it could. They could figure it out. Are they going to? I don't know. I mean, they're 100th in turnover margin. That's not great. How are you going to win a game when you're turning over the ball as much as they are? In the last 3 games, they've scored 33 points. Not 33 points per game. In the last 3 games, they have scored 33 points. I mean, this game is at home. There's swirls of Napier being fired. Who knows when that's going to happen? It's just a lot of turmoil. I kind of said the same thing about this game last year, thinking about like there's just too many distractions with what's going on with Napier. So I I, I don't see any other way than to predict this as a win for your Aggies right now. So that ups us to 6-0, and then we are going to Arkansas, and this is the big one. This is it. Um, I said that if they lost to me, this is pre season, y'all. This is like I don't know, 2 weeks into August maybe, and my preview was like, we're going to Arkansas, first time out of Jerry's world, and if this ship is not going well, then there could be some calls for Pittman to get fired. I went further than this. I said, if they end up losing to Memphis, then we are looking at a dire strait kind of situation where there may be calls for Petrino to take over. And what are you hearing right now? I'm not sure what the stadium is going to look like. I said, and it was part of the prediction, it's going to look pretty vacant. So at this point, Pittman has been fired. Petrino is now the interim coach, and if that's not I don't know, an attaboy or something. I mean, my goodness, if you were watching some sort of TikTok or something, they would say that's good enough for a like and a share or a follow or whatever they do. Now I don't do that. I don't want any subs. Um, I'm not here for that. And more than that, I'll go ahead and tell you right now. I don't have it up here right now. Remember, if you've watched me before, I used to put my X handle up here. It's not. I'm gonna put it in the description though, because what I've got going on over there right now is that I'm giving away 2 tickets to the A&M Texas game next year. Okay, I have 4 tickets. I'm giving away 2 of those. You don't have to sub to me. You don't have to be a follower. You don't have to go and take your little slip to the nearest like little Dropbox thing somewhere in College Station or something like that. You don't have to do anything special. There's nothing you got to do. Okay. And I'm not a rich man here. If you go and the deal is this, if you guess the attendance for Saturday night, which I think is going to be crazy, and you guess that exactly, 2 tickets are yours. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not asking for anything. The only condition is, and I'll hand it to Texas A&M Meltdown Show. I think is their handle. They made sure to point out, which is good. I'm glad they did. You know, I'm no lawyer brain at the moment. I've got to get into that zone if I'm going to do that. Is that it needs to be an Aggie. So you got to be an Aggie to claim those tickets. And if there's any dispute about that situation, then I'm just going to do a poll on X and let the people decide if that goes to them. I'm trusting everybody here that would jump into that will do it. So go to the description, find my handle, go over there, put in your guess, and you're entered to possibly win those. Okay, you got to hit it right on. I do have something for those that are within 10 and within 100. So if you get it within 100 and you're one of the first ones to have guessed, I'm buying beer at the next game. Okay, so that's the way that's going to go. Anyways, with that said, that Arkansas, I mean, I think I nailed that one on the head. So right now, um, beyond some sort of like crazy, hey, the team gets back together and man, we're focused and we're going to do what we've got to do, which could absolutely happen. I mean, Petrino could be the man. So it was still a game to watch out for, but they're not very good. I mean, did you see what Notre Dame did to them? They were giving up. It's hard to come back from that kind of give up. It really is. They're 118th in total D. They're gosh, I think it's 111th in pass D. I'm gonna have to double check that one. They're just too reliant on Green for pretty much, I mean, frankly, all of their offense. So there's kind of a one-man show. They're very one-dimensional when it comes to that, and the secondary is just awful. So it matches up well for us, anyways. We're going there. I think we're gonna get the dub. All right. So what's that get us to? Are we at 6-0 at this point? 7-0? I'm gonna go back and check. I gotta check. I gotta make sure I get this right. So we're 4-0 currently. Win. I got so far at Mississippi State, win with Florida, win with Arkansas. Yeah. So that's 7-0. 7-0. Going to Death Valley. Death Valley, a place that we have been trading licks with for like the last 8 years. No one's won away, right? I sure would hate for that pattern to be broken. Wouldn't you? It'd be awful if that happened this year. Going to be a tall task. Going to be a tall task, but there is, I would say, a fair amount of hope. Really, there is. Now, LSU early on, this is the one of the games that I said, between Notre Dame and this one, I was like, we're going to get one of these. I almost predicted it was going to be LSU, but it's at Death Valley. So I went ahead and I think I picked Notre Dame on that one. So good on that one as well. I think it's going to be difficult to win in Death Valley, but there is definitely some chinks in the armor. And whereas before I thought there was probably just, maybe it was going to be like 30-70 in LSU's favor, 70-30 LSU's favor. It might be 45-55. I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, even considering we're going to Death Valley, they're 90th in total offense. So 120th running the ball. They have, I mean, basically no run game, y'all. They can't run the ball right now to save their life. 46th in passing, they're not lighting it up there. And this was the area that they were supposed to be, this is going to be their knight in shining armor. I mean, with Nussmeier back there, he's supposed to be slinging the ball around. I mean, this guy's an NFL guy. It's not working out. It's not. There's a lot of questions swirling around. I don't know, between now and then, if they're going to cannibalize themselves a little bit, we're going to find out more. I mean, 3 or 4 weeks out, and or at least games, seeing what they can do in the meantime, because that right now they, at least what they're pushing out there is that Nussmeier has an abdominal strain. I think they're saying yes, they do. He does have that. They're not really trying to dispute that, but it's kind of like, well, there's not going to be any surgery that takes place because surgery and you're out, surgery and you're out, man. So they don't want that right now. They're just going to have to push through with us. I think because they don't really have anything behind him. Um, so they need him. I think they're going to continue to keep struggling along this way. Their D is going to keep them in the game. They got the 26th best D, best total D. They're doing just enough to kind of keep things on. They got a really great rush defense. Pass D, not bad, but it's not lighting up the world. And yeah, I mean, with this injury, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. We're starting to get kind of far out at this point where you don't know what's going to transpire between now and then. However, what what has to be considered is more injuries. I mean, depth is going to play such a huge role around game 8, in my opinion. So game 8, going to Death Valley right now, Elko's doing really well managing. I think we only have like what, Bryce Anderson, Scooby Williams, and I think Blake Ivy actually just came back. So he's kind of, I don't know, you don't call it injured reserve anymore, but he's just been like out. But now he's like questionable, so he's moving up. I don't expect him probably to play or anything like that. Of course, he's not probably in the too deep on offensive line anyways. But um, it's just nice to see that things are working back, and we have just very few injuries going on right now. So, um, and I'll say this too. This is a really good testament. The way that Samford has played recently at linebacker in place of Scooby has been nothing short of excellent. If you didn't listen to the Aggie radio show this week, Elko kind of addressed a couple of points like this. He's saying, with the players, you got Jared Kerr has been a story where this guy is like a fourth or fifth year, I think senior, somewhere around there, right? And he's just hung with the program. He's stayed around. He's been loyal. Some huge respect on that guy's name. It's not that he's bad, is what Elko is saying. He's just, this is a competitive situation, and he's just that much behind the next guy. They're not saying that we're not ready to go to him when we have to. Elko says we're 100% ready for that, and Samford is a great example of this. And what Brooks or Shaw that's been playing in place of Bryce Anderson. Have you seen much fall off in that position? I haven't. So two deep is looking really good. I think that is going to be something that really bodes well for us down the stretch. It's going to give us some staying power for sure. Now, where I was big time wrong, maybe the most shocking thing so far is what Missouri is doing. Now, I looked at this preseason, and I listened to a lot of stuff about what people were saying about what Missouri was going to do, their season prediction, so on and so forth, all of that good stuff, and they were pretty high on them. And I didn't really take it as seriously because I heard them talk really highly about South Carolina, really highly about Arkansas, really highly about Auburn, and just kind of downgrading us a little bit, as well. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, if you think Missouri's like, maybe even a team like Mississippi State is going to have an uptick, they can't all do that. It's just not going to be possible. So I really took it with a grain of salt. And it was probably one of the ones I listened to last. Even though we played South Carolina after Missouri, I was focused much more on South Carolina than I was Missouri because of Lenora Sellers, Dylan Stewart, the guys that they have on that team. Missouri doesn't is a lot like Mississippi State, where they don't have a huge name going on. Now they've got some that are making some splashes, but preseason they weren't there. I mean, had you heard of Ahmad Hardy before the season? I know I hadn't. I mean, if you had, good on you for that. I had not heard uh, Ahmad Hardy, but the dude's lighting it up. Toting the Rock dude is just absolutely lighting it up. So, you know, not getting too far ahead of myself right now, but I've got to kind of start lumping these in here because I'm going to have to predict some of these losses and some of these wins based off of a group of games. So, do I have us going to LSU and getting the dub? Right now, I don't. Right now, I've got that as an L still. I want to see just a little bit more. The gap has closed quite considerably for me. We got 3 weeks to go, 4 weeks of play, and then I want to see some more, right? I want to see some more there. And it might close, and I may change this next week or the week after that. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the L on that one. But it might be a better thing to say, between LSU and between Missouri, there's going to be one of those is going to be a loss. Okay. Now, what we have going for us, at least the Missouri game, is that we have a bye. So it might be more prudent to say, I don't know if we're going to lose to LSU or Missouri, but I think we're going to lose to one of those. I think that's probably a pretty decent situation. And you might even lump a third game in there. If I'm going to jump over to South Carolina real quick, I'm just going to say this right out of the bat. This is a get back game. I think this is absolutely a get back game. It is in Kyle Field. Um, they've taken 2 L's so far, one to Vandy and the other to Mizzou, 29-20. They're 124th in total defense. That looks good to me. Now, where will we be at the end of the season, injury wise, health wise? That's another question. But I'm gonna say right now, with it being at Cal Field and it being a get back game, without getting into too much of the X's and O's, because stats and whatnot, I expect those to change a lot between now and then. I think we win. I think we win South Carolina. Okay, so you can kind of make that the 8-0 win somewhere in that neighborhood, right? So Sanford after that win 9-0. Now, so again, we have 3 games left: LSU, Missouri, and Texas that I have not fully predicted as of this moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let's work backwards. For Texas, I still have this game as a loss right now. I think the defense is legit. I do. I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna raise some problems. Um, Defense travels, and if our defense is hitting on all cylinders, if they're playing like they play, and I know Auburn's offense is supposed to be anemic, but you know what? When you only give up 1 yard in the fourth quarter, I don't care who it is, you have a good defense. When you keep any team, to 56 yards rushing, you have a good defense. I mean, he's not throwing the ball just because he doesn't want to throw the ball. These guys are covered. Okay. So if our defense is there and we can travel well, this game is definitely one that can change and change with the quickness. Right now on paper, and again, this one has also shrunk for me. We've seen what's happened with Arch. We've seen the controversy with the arm. Is he got it? Is it there? What can he do? I mean, we're bowing up to Sam Houston State defenders and stuff like that. I mean, we got little guy energy coming through on a lot of fronts with that one. So, um, yeah, I'll give it to them right now, 55-45. I think that's fair. But I've got us losing one of those, LSU or Missouri, and winning the other one. One way or another, I've got us winning one of those games. I'll tell you this: we got a bye after LSU going into Missouri, okay, and then and I didn't even explain why Missouri was such the L for me right now. I mean, they have the number one D currently, the number one defense, y'all. They have the number four offense, and so this is what worries me about this team. But there is a big like, oh, pump the brakes kind of situation, right? I mean, even though they're number one in explosive plays and they've got like 104 plays of 10 yards or more, um, I just want to see how they fare against Bama this week. Okay, they really haven't played a whole heck of a lot, and I think once we see them play Bama this week, we'll have a really good idea. So tune back into this next week, right? So however you got to do that, don't do the subscribe button unless you feel like you just have to do that. Like, share, comment, or something that fixes your algorithm much better than that is. Turn the bell on or something, man. Don't sub. Now, no one ever listens to me when I say that. It just keeps happening, but whatever. Okay. I make the content for you. I don't ask for subs for me. Okay. So one of those again is going to be the loss. One of those is going to be the win. We're going to go to Missouri. We're going to go to Death Valley. So it's a difficult stretch. And just lumping in the Texas game, I'll just go and say, out of these three games, there's going to be two losses. Okay, there are three away games. I think if we go 2-3 there, I'll be extremely happy with that, and that gives me a prediction of one up from my original prediction of 9-3, and puts us at 10-2. Now, if you want to ask me for a ceiling, I can give you a ceiling. But let me think on it for just a second. Wet my whistle. I think we have an 11-1 ceiling right now, and I think we're getting real close to a 9-3 floor. I'm not ready to say floor is 9-3 just yet, because there's a few things that need to happen for that to be the case. Because I've got some things that I want to talk about real quick about what translates well for us, okay, and then like how all this kind of gets derailed. So if I've got us 10-2, I can tell you how this gets derailed real quick, right? It gets derailed with health concerns, okay. So if Marcel Reed goes down, we got Miles O'Neill coming in, and I like the guy. I'll do. What concerns me about that is, we saw the one game with the long touchdown, but it also had the interception. And I just wish we could have gotten him a lot more work in the first two games. I think if I could gotten a solid quarter and a half out of him, I'd feel a lot better about something like that happening to finish out the season. But we didn't finish those teams out like we needed to. And it is what it is. That's just the way we did. We kind of started a little bit slow. I mean, I'm glad that we're kind of getting rolling. But if that happens, and just kind of walking right into what gives us staying power is our run game, and our defense. Our wide receivers are elite and they're fantastic. I think it would take at least a couple games for us to get back or close to the situation we've had with Marcel throwing to Craver, throwing to KC, but it would take Miles probably just a little bit to get into that groove before that starts to take place. I don't think it just automatically happens with that, but you can hand the ball off and you can run well right off the bat. And I think we are just now starting to see what I had also predicted, was that going into the Notre Dame game, we were going to be thinking that our identity was throwing the ball, and that we would translate that into a running the ball identity. Now, I was wrong on that one too. That did not happen. So, like I told you, I take the L's when I get the L's. What I actually think is happening here is there's a more there's more of a 3D chess situation that's going on. And I think Elko is doing the best job we've seen a coach do. And I mean, there's not going to be anybody I'm going to be able to reference for you for this, to be quite honest, because it wasn't Sumlin, it wasn't Jimbo, it wasn't Sherman, it wasn't that other guy. Um, right before Sherman. I shall not name his name. It didn't hand it off to Javorsky Lane as many times as I wanted him to, but um, he's matching up our game with the weakness of the other team and vice versa. Okay. So we needed to run the ball this last game. We did. We needed to get the pass going in the first couple of games, and then use that for Notre Dame, and we did that. I think for the Mississippi State game and all games moving forward, we're going to emphasize what gives us the best chance to win. Plain and simple. Defense and running game translate really well for us for the rest of the season. I think the defensive line is about to hit off. Whenever I see D tackles getting sacks like DJ Hicks was, I'm starting to think we are about to pop off. So there's that. Last thing, one more thing that could derail this whole thing. This is something that kind of gets me a little bit more worried, um, especially for next year, is when your season continues to be based around one score games. You can kind of chalk those up to luck at some level. I mean, you're at least from season to season, you're not going to go say, well, yeah, well, all those games we won by one possession, we're definitely going to win those again. It just doesn't work like that. And if it happens during the season, you don't continue to win those one score games, then you start running into trouble. And so if all of our games are one score games and we're not winning comfortably at all, some of those are bound to not go in our favor. So if that happens just a couple times, here we are, right at the 10-2 situation, and then let's just say we get beat, we get beat by a team and handily or something because we don't play our game. You've heard me talk a lot about this as well, that there's got to be these situations where teams cannot continue to play at such a high level. This is actually one more thing I wanted to mention about the Mississippi State game. I think they got really high and way up there to go at Tennessee. Can you get all the way back up there to come back in at us and do it again? It's difficult to do that week in and week out. So the good news is I think Elko has prepared this team to do that. I I would bet better than any other team, and that's going to translate really really well. So that's why we were able to get a win after a big win. You go to Notre Dame and you win, you're supposed to have a bit of a letdown week. We started a slight bit slow, but did you see of course you saw the resilience of that team, right? Of course you did. So that should be that tells a huge story that Elko has made this team to um, to weather those kinds of storms, play at that level. So a lot of good news there. A lot of intangible type things that are set up. Of course, the X's and O's have to be there as well. The talent, scheme, all that stuff. But you look at how like Arkansas played versus Notre Dame. You want the exact opposite of those kinds of things, and those cultural pieces are big for having long-term success. So we are definitely on the right track. So y'all, hey, updated prediction 10-2, y'all. Let's see what's happening after this next week, and we'll do it again. Catch me back here for the reaction, and don't forget to go find that my handle and get your vote in. Get your vote in, okay? Appreciate you hanging out with me. We'll catch you next time. Thanks and gig 'em.